Hi, I'm Dave Tafuri. We are in Washington, D.C. I'm a lawyer, and I recently returned from 15 months working in the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. I wanted to do something service-oriented, and I wanted to use some of the skills I learned as a lawyer. And in 2006, things were very bad in Iraq, and they needed people with all different types of skill sets. The U.S. Embassy has something like 4,000 people working in it, and I was one of those people focused on helping develop the legal system and helping the Iraqis rebuild the legal system. We were helping with lots of different things, passing new laws under the Constitution, rebuilding the court system, training judges, protecting judges. So all aspects of the legal system really needed help. It really deteriorated under Saddam Hussein. They really wanted assistance and help, but they also wanted us to respect their traditions. They have a very old legal system, and they want us to try and understand their legal system and not try and make their legal system into our legal system. It's a somewhat different legal system, the civil law system, based on very old traditions and with lots of different influences, Ottoman influences, Sharia Islamic law influences from the British, who had a big presence in Iraq a long time ago. And so we had to sort of learn everything about their traditions, learn how judges were trained, learn about the laws that they had on the books in order to understand what needed to be done to get them up to meet modern international standards for law and for legal systems. Well, they had some really great traditions in their legal system. Judges were very well trained, very professional, very committed to their jobs. Judges in the Iraqi legal system in some ways have a lot more power than judges in the U.S. system. They actually, on the criminal side, they actually conduct the investigation, and they also act as the judge over whether a crime had been committed. So there were aspects of it that were quite interesting and in some ways more efficient than our system. So one of the great things about this experience is I learned a lot about being a lawyer, and it challenged a lot of things that I thought about the law and about my own legal education to work within a legal system very different from our own. Everything about working in Iraq was challenging. It's the most challenging environment I've ever been in, and it was always sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So security was, of course, one of the biggest challenges. In order just to do a regular meeting with a judge, I needed to have 12 guys with guns and an armored convoy, 3 armored vehicles, and we had to drive as fast as we could to the judge's office, and I had 30 minutes maybe to meet with him before I had to get out of there to make sure that we weren't endangering the judge and we weren't endangering ourselves by staying anywhere too long. One example is there was we were building a courthouse in Mosul, northern Iraq, and they hadn't had criminal trials going forward for a long time because it had been so dangerous. We started to build a brand new high security courthouse. It was about 50% complete, and someone drove a truck bomb into the construction site, blew it up, and rendered it back to 0% complete. So we were always making progress, and then there were setbacks. I think we had a couple of big successes. We got criminal trials going in a lot of places in Iraq where they hadn't even been conducted at all for a couple of years because of the war in Iraq. We doubled the number of judges. We did training for a lot of judges. The greatest successes really was making the judiciary more independent from the executive branch and more insulated from outside influence, so they could really do their job and really be seen as a neutral arbiter of disputes in Iraq. Probably the most touching thing, as I alluded to earlier, is working with Iraqis who are putting themselves in a great amount of danger by even working with you or being in contact with you. And at the time I was in Iraq, and even still now, to be an Iraqi and to work with the Americans meant subjecting yourself to potential retaliation by the insurgents who didn't want the U.S. in Iraq. So everyone from our translators to our local lawyers even to the judges that were getting assistance from us. When they contacted us and worked with us, they were really putting themselves in danger. And so it was inspiring to see them do that. You know, the folks who worked in the embassy with us, they would have to take circuitous routes from wherever they lived in Baghdad to get to the embassy, so no one would follow them and see them entering the embassy. So I'm now back at a law firm here in Washington, D.C., and I work with a lot of clients that are trying to do business in Iraq and trying to help reignite the economy in Iraq. And I work on advising them on the legal system in Iraq, helping them understand how to comply with rules and laws and complicated procedures with respect to doing business in Iraq. You know, I've just always had a sense that you need to give back, and I've gotten a lot out of being an American and the wonderful education system we have here, and so I felt like I came to a place in my life where I had the time and the ability to do something service-oriented, and I think that's important to do that throughout your life, to be committed to giving back. And this was the right time for me to go there, and it was a place where I think there was a great amount of need. Not a lot of people were willing to go to Iraq when I went, so I felt like it was my obligation to try and help. I think that doing something similar to this is important in terms of taking some time out of your regular job and doing something service-oriented, picking an area or place that's underserved and going there and giving up your regular responsibilities for a short amount of time to try and help. I recommend that, and I think it's important.